I'm Ellen McCauley. I'm at Pray It Off. I'm in Syracuse, New York. And tonight's topic is an interesting one. As I mentioned to the group last week, I tend to do topics that is where my head's at. So if people want to know, what's Ellen feeling? We're talking about anxiety, or we're talking about stress, or we're talking about those sorts of things. I've never once since January of 2008 have talked about boredom. Never once. And I never was, I never had that as an issue. Am I judging anyone? Am I saying, I did used to say to my kids when they used to say, Mom, I'm bored. I say, oh, you're bored? I'll give you something to do. And then very quickly they realized that saying bored to me was not a good idea. So I just find that my purse over here is a cornucopia of activities. I mean, you could say, Ellen, what if you're stuck in an elevator? I can entertain myself in my purse for at least 5 or 6 hours. I swear to God. And there's paper and pen. I can write poetry. I can create. I just never get bored. Now, I want everyone to direct their eyes to the back of the food log because I've included 47 productive things to do when you're bored. Not one of them is eat a hot fudge sundae. And you might say, Ellen, I notice you quite frequently mention hot fudge sundaes. Why is that? Because it was my 9:30. I'm in bed now between 7:45 and 8. And at 9:30 before Pray It Off, every night we would have a snack. And just about always, we even had we used an acronym, an HFS. That's how many times we had them. And no wonder I weighed 371, plus I can't handle dairy. So it was a trigger for me, but I haven't had an HFS since January of 2008 because I just got away from them. But teach yourself a new skill. I love that one. I think we can learn so many things. I took an Excel spreadsheet class at work. It was free. You give me the free, I will drink these drinks, even if they're awful, because they're free. I went to my daughter's graduation. We went to a bar in Philadelphia, and everyone bought a beer, and it was this fancy schmancy place. Well, my beer tasted kind of like cat pee-pee, but I drank it anyway because I paid for it. So here's the thing. I went to an Excel spreadsheet because it was free. I love it. I can do spreadsheets now. And I'm an old dog. I learned that new trick. Take a useful online course. I could tell you right now, if you don't know, Oasis, which is in East Syracuse, offers chronic healthy living with a chronic condition. It's a free 6-week Zoom class. Like an hour and a half over 6 weeks. It starts March 16th. If you want the information, I'll send it to you. And it's free. And you can learn how to manage diabetes, heart disease, any chronic thing, even obesity. You can deal with anything, free. Organize your junk drawer. Now, I have a little bit of a problem with this because as I'm organizing my junk drawer, as I mentioned, I find that old phone number from my boyfriend from high school, and then I go to Facebook. So what you have to do is make sure you don't get diverted. You have to say, I'm going to organize this junk drawer and actually get rid of things. I'm just picking things that kind of I like. So, read an insightful self-help book. I have a self-help book on the go all the time. All the time. I finish it, and then I get another self-help book. Connie gave me the one I'm reading now. It's by Joyce Meyer, who I love, and a lot of people think I kind of look like her. And it's on trust. How do I trust God? And I love it, Connie. Thank you.
Unshakable trust.
Unshakable trust. I highly recommend it. Also, clean out your car. Well, guess what? I don't have to clean out my car because my car is perfect. I go in some people's car and they say this, Can you wait a minute? And then they start getting out all the garbage from the passenger seat. They have food, they have takeout bags, they have everything you can think of that they have to get rid of for me to sit in their car. I have never, some people are laughing, they're guilty here, or else they know somebody who is. My car is immaculate because it's just a car. Why would it be dirty? I just don't think it should be. That's one bad habit I don't have. Begin learning a new language. When I was in high school, from 7th through 12th grade, I took French. And I could parlez-vous français like nobody's business. After that, I never spoke it again. How hard would it be for me to pick it up again? I took it all those years and I scored like a 98 on my French regions. I was pretty good at it. Or even Italian. I spent a year in Italy. Io parlo italiano molto bene. I could pick that up again. Why don't I? Also, notice I'm not eating. Catch up on household chores. Bob and I on Sunday, we tend to be the Irish. Yeah, if you ever go into an older Irish couple's house, you'll say, you know what, that furniture was like that in 1970 and that picture hung right there. We tend to put the things up and we say, I like it like that, and then they never change. So I said to Bob, in 2022, we're going to hang new things. We rearranged the living room furniture, the family room, and now every time I walk by, I'm like, I kind of like that. It's different. It's a change. Do a puzzle or brain teaser. I'm doing Wordle with my son Vincent, who I kind of think he might cheat, but he says he's not cheating. Some people cheat. I think cheating at Wordle is like akin to like a mortal sin. But anyway, keep a daily diary. Now people are out there might say, what's Wordle? It's just this puzzle game where you guess what the word is. It's online. It's fun. Keep a daily diary. I do. And every day I read the previous 5 years just to see what I was doing then, and I yell out, Bob, last year you had your hernia operation on this day. Or 2 years ago we were in Vegas. You know, it's fun to look at what you had. Volunteer in your community. This is my volunteering. You know, I work full time, and I really don't volunteer at other organizations, although, you know, I've helped the veterans and things of that nature. But take Jean, for example. She worked till she was 76 years old at a full-time job and immediately volunteered at Francis' house, works here, does the funeral luncheons when they had them, does all the funeral programs for Holy Family. She is a volunteer extraordinaire. Read the newspaper daily. I do. Monday through Saturday, I read it electronically, and on Sunday, I read the real thing. I think the Sunday paper is good to read the real thing. And then it says, try a new relaxing hobby. I started playing the piano as an adult in 2002, I think. And I had this dream of playing at Carnegie Hall. And you know, the funny thing is, I'm just not very good at it. But I really like it. Now, I haven't played the piano for years because you get busy, you're doing things. And I have a beautiful piano that I got for a song. Got it? Song. And anyway, I said to Bob, I'm going to play the piano again. And it's big note, but who cares? And I only play praise and worship, Broadway, and the 70s. And is there any other music but that? That's all I want to say. So find a new recipe. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about a lot more recipes because I tried some new foods during my first week of Lent, and it made a big difference. So we need to have some different things. And then it says color coordinate your closet. You know what I did? I started this thing, or I mentioned it a few years ago, is when you wear something, you turn the hanger around. I started doing that a few years ago, and it works perfect. I can look at my closet and say, I haven't worn those things, but I've worn these things. Why haven't I worn those things? Sometimes they're too tight if I put on a few pounds. So I put those over on the side, hopefully getting into them soon. But it really is a good way to know what you're wearing, what you're not. And years ago, we used to bring in clothes that we no longer wanted and shared with the group. And I invite you, if you want to bring in something that's nice and it's too big on you, you can bring it over and set it on that table. Also, watch a documentary. When I grew up, my parents would always watch documentaries, and I said, why are they watching this awful show? Bob and I are like, give me Nova, give me American Experience. We love those shows. But you can't eat a bag of chips when you're watching them. Also, write a thank you note. I can't tell you. Somebody gave me a rosary they got in the mail this week, and they said to Bob, tell her not to write me a thank you note. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And then it says make a bucket list. You know, bucket lists are really important with a lot of people. And I used to say, I can die a happy woman when Syracuse wins the NCAA and Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. And Buffalo got real close this year, and it made me a little nervous. I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. If they win the Super Bowl, does that mean that it's okay for me to keel? So I'm thinking, I don't know so much about bucket lists, because you're supposed to do all these things before you die. I think it's okay to just say there's some goals. Like, I want to see the Grand Canyon. And God willing, on April 25th, on Bob's birthday, we will be at the Grand Canyon because we're going to see our daughter. So pray for that, everybody. So is there anything here that anyone feels could keep them from overeating if they tried it? Is anyone going to tell me? I won't make you, but if you want to share something you want to try, yell it out.
Unclutter a drawer.
What does she want to do?
Unclutter a drawer.
Unclutter a drawer. I love that. Anyone else?
What is a bullet journal?
Well, I was just going to ask that.
A bullet journal is kind of like what I do on a daily basis, and I don't know how many people, that's why I didn't talk about it. I've been doing it my whole life. It's where you write down what you want to do, and you either, I do numbers, some people do bullets, and they either cross it off. I highlight mine. So it's like what you're going to do in a day, what you're going to do in a week, what you're going to do in your life. You just make a list, bullets, and then you cross it out. So that's what that is. All right. Well, let's go on to the next article on being bored, because I certainly wouldn't want to bore you with that. Okay. So this one is 13 ways to stop eating when you're bored. Eating when I was bored was never my thing. Stress and anxiety makes me want to eat and drink. But let's talk about it. If you say to yourself, I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and no snacks, that's what I'm going to do with my life. That has saved me at Pray It Off. How can you eat when you're bored when you're only having breakfast, lunch, and dinner? If you forbid yourself to snack, you're not going to eat when you're bored. This article says, eat regularly throughout the day. I disagree with that. Because if you have a weight problem, if you have a problem with food and you give yourself permission to eat throughout the day, you're not going to be having carrot sticks and celery. You're going to be having a candy bar and cookies. Also, don't restrict your favorite foods. I disagree with that one too. Only because if you say, I'm only going to have one Samoa Girl Scout cookie, you know what I say to you? You're a liar. Because there's no way anyone can have one. Yes, Chris?
I can't have it in the house.
No, and that's one of the points.
Yeah.
Why is this stuff in your house? And don't bring up your grandchildren. You could say to those little brats, BYO snacks. Okay? Also, have a nutritious filling snack. You know, if you say, Ellen, you don't understand, I have a blood sugar thing, I have this. Is your doctor going to say to you, have a hot fudge sundae every time you have an issue? I don't think so. Eat from a plate. This has gotten me in trouble. If I say I'm going to have a few cashews, give me the jar, Bob. Oh, that is trigger number 8010. But if I say, okay, there's 220 calories in 10 nuts, and if I put it in a baggie, usually what I say then is, why bother? I don't want 10 nuts for 210. That's too many calories. If you think about it, quite often you say, you know what, I don't know if I really want that. That's why Roland called and said, you want me to bring these? I said, I got to know what's in it. You know, are they 500 calories? Is there added sugar? And old Ellen, pre-2008, never looked at one stinking label. Bob and I went to Costco on Saturday, and we're looking at the veggie burgers, we're looking at the things, we're looking at the salmon. The label has everything. Eating from a plate. If you say I'm only going to have a few chips, again, not true. Tune in your emotions. You know, when you're bored, I always say there's something else going on besides the boredom. During the pandemic, I never was bored. I'm talking about when I worked remotely from home for a year, and the only person I saw for like 3 months was Bob, which was great. I wanted to add that. I wasn't bored, but I did feel it was because I had too much to do, but I did feel it was a little Groundhog Day-ish. And I've talked about that, where you get up, you get dressed, you go to work, you eat dinner. You don't have time to be bored, but you don't have that zing, you don't have that zip. If you move your couch over here and your chair over here, how hard is that to do? And you go, okay, you can't help looking at it a little bit because it's different. Try to do something that's going to make you think, or like, remember, I don't know, some of you have been in the group for a while, remember that I never won the greenback for like 30 years. And then like a few years ago, I don't know, 6 or 7, we won $100, and I gave it right back to the church. So this week, Patty calls me and says, Ellen, you won $100 on the greenback. And I said, oh, I'm tempted just to give it to the church. She goes, you will not give it to this church. I'm mailing you a check, and you and Bob are going to do something fun with it. I had to have someone else tell me to do something fun with it, because I felt kind of guilty. Well, maybe I should give it to the church. She's like, you're going to do something fun with it. And I'm like, okay. So I'm bossing you now to do something fun this week. And know your hunger signs. One person lost good weight this week, and they've been struggling before. She says, but you know, Ellen, I'm kind of hungry. And I said, you know what? That's good. If you're not dizzy, if you don't feel like you're going to go berserk, if you're a little hungry, that means you're losing weight. You know, I feel that being a little hungry is not a bad thing at all. Embrace being bored. I don't know about embracing it, but you could say, well, I've got nothing to do right now. Maybe I'll meditate and ask God to help all the poor people in the world. Take it easy on yourself. There was at least 20 times this week where I said to myself, is this important? Do I really want to get upset about it? Do I care about it? Because if we stop and think, and I think Judy said something about our bodies. You know, we beat ourselves up about our weight gain, et cetera, et cetera. Look at that poor Miss America, and we think she was beautiful. We don't know what's going on inside people's heads. You know, so we've got some weight to lose. Let's just praise God and pray and take it easy on ourselves. Understand your environment. You know, if you're bored at home, get out. We're not talking about pandemic times. We're talking about now. And know your triggers. Chris said it perfectly. Why is this stuff in your house? And avoid the urge to eat in front of the screen. That's a huge one. Mix things up. I talked about that, and make some new habits, a new hobby. I'm going to stop right there, Bobby, and go on to